Um, Thoughts on Penn State, maybe how they're a little different than they were the first time you guys played?
Well, I mean, since the last time we played them, they've had a 3-game winning streak in conference. I know they've dropped a couple in a row, but you can tell that the guys, I mean, when you talk about Penn State, the first thing you talk about is how hard they play. I mean, they're a team that's going to play as hard as you can possibly imagine every single time out, no matter what their record is. And I think that, introducing a couple new players in, I think Newbell and Frazier, establishing themselves as one of the best backcourts in the country. I think the team started to shoot the ball a little bit better in their 3-game winning streak, and they were able to add in a third score. Brandon Taylor's averaging 15 points a game, in their Big Ten wins. And, they're just a threat that they always are, but I think they're playing with a little bit more unity.
I know one of their concerns was finding that third scorer. You mentioned Taylor, and then what's the other guy's name? Ross, Travis?
Well, they have numerous players on that team are very capable of stepping up on any single night. I mean, John Johnson comes in and really fires the basketball. They have a lot of threats. If you look at when they're playing, it's usually a different guy stepping up every night, and that's why they're such a dangerous team.
Your team has had some close losses, I think, maybe 7 by 7 points or less. That can be demoralizing, or it can be an encouragement that we're so close. How are you guys kind of looking at that?
I mean, it's just like it's last play, next play. It's always last game, next game. In this league, you don't really have any time for any pity parties, and you don't have any time to pat yourself on the back. Each night is going to pose a new challenge. So what you're doing is no matter what the situation is, you're always trying to get better as a team. You're going to come back the next day in practice and get after it, and continue to work on the fundamentals and the things that are going to help you be successful in the long run. One of the things we've been focused on is not necessarily just trying to compete and win each game. You have to game plan, but you also want to get better individually, which will ultimately lead to you being better collectively as a basketball team. So we've been really concentrating on the fundamentals and trying to show up the things that we know we need to improve on, while also concentrating on our strengths. I mean, because there are a lot of positives with this team that don't always necessarily get focused on, which is normal in competition. So we're trying to make sure we continue to accentuate our positives while also cleaning up our negatives, which have come back to haunt us a couple times down the stretch, but what you come to expect with a young basketball team now at this point in the season. We're trying to make sure we put together a complete 40 minutes and finish off these games like we know we're capable of.
Kind of almost the same lines Coach Dream was saying last night, that he wasn't very happy maybe with the energy level to start the second half against Minnesota. I mean, what does it take to kind of change that, or have maybe a little bit better energy coming out of the locker room?
I don't think that there's any one particular thing that you can focus on, or else we surely would have, tried to make sure that happened. I mean, after you come out of the Nebraska game with a similar result in that second half, that's not something that you ever plan on repeating. I mean, as a team, as a unit, as a coaching staff, as players collectively, they all have great intentions. They've had great intentions since June. So their energy level, I mean, the learning experiences, each situation is going to be a different situation. That's the beauty of the league. I would love to tell the other team, hey, do this, this, and this, because we're ready for this, this, and that. We have to constantly be prepared for any and every type of environment and situation. And, I think we learned from it. Now it's about actually processing and performing in those situations when the time is there.
Is that how the team's growing, just learning how to bounce back from these losses maybe a little bit better than they did earlier in the year?
Yeah, I don't think that we have ever had any problem bouncing back. I mean, these guys, they're a confident group. They're a group that understands, what we're trying to get accomplished. I mean, they're great in practice. They're great with their attention span. They're great at following a scouting game plan. It's all about execution. So I would never say that we have trouble bouncing back, just like I don't think we ever have any problem, recovering from a big win, and moving on. This team is probably beyond their years as far as being able to move on and get ready for the next day. I think you can attribute, the leadership directly for that from Coach Crean. I mean, he brings the same level of intensity every single day. So, I don't think it's about bouncing back. I think it's about progressing like we normally would, but progressing with a higher level of urgency, a higher level of focus. That's something that you can't really simulate, in a practice situation, what it's like to go and play in front of a sold-out crowd and fall a little short. And then the next day, the sun comes up the next day, so what do? So until you go through those situations as a human being, you just don't know what it's like. You're kind of ignorant to the situation, but I wouldn't consider it a bounce back. I think it's just a move forward.
I guess relating to what you just said, one thing Coach Green has kind of said after the losses to Nebraska and Minnesota was kind of a lack of awareness, I guess, in the second half. How do you combat that, if at all?
The lack of awareness.
Yeah.
I mean, that's simply coming in. When I talk about fundamentals, that's what I mean. There are fundamental things that are going on that lead to a lack of awareness, and we just got to emphasize it. I mean, whether it's getting over a screen, whether it's communicating a changing defense in a possession, those are fundamental things that you just have to get at. You have to hammer it every single day, and we've been doing it, and we're going to continue to do it. And that's about maximizing your potential as a team when you're constantly working towards having better communication, and you're fighting that battle every single day, and you're at the far end of the court in the second half in a hostile environment. And you're playing a very good basketball team who's very capable of beating anybody, just like I think anyone in this league is. It is that simple as it sounds, simple. Well, it is that simple. Hey, we're changing defenses. You need to be in this area. Okay, you get 4 people doing it, 1 person not doing it. Guess what? You lose by a possession or 2 in the Big Ten, and that's just something that you can explain until you're blue in the face, and until you experience it and go through it, and that's when you have to learn to hate losing more than you like winning. And I think that this team is there. They've been there. They're focused. They want it for each other. It's about executing and finishing it.
How do you feel like this team has improved since the last game against Penn State?
It's just been that constant development. I mean, focusing on the positive of the team. I think that the guys. There's been some improvements you'll see on some games with our turnover situation. There's been some improvement with, I think we've continued to rebound the ball. So it's mainly about guys just getting older, growing up a little bit in the moment, focusing on each individual opponent, diving into the game plan a little bit better, So I definitely feel like we're progressing each day, and it's about just trying to put it together for 40 minutes.
What do you see different about Penn State, and obviously Taylor's playing better since the first meeting?
Yep. Well, we discussed that a few minutes ago, but that's all right. They're a team that is. We talked about them having the ability to add a third scorer. I mean, they've got one of the best backcourts in the country, of Newbill and Frazier. I think that they've had different guys step up. They were a team that was kind of, with a few transfers coming in, Newbill and Frazier first time playing together in the league. I think that they're starting to have some unity now, and just like everyone in this league, I don't think that, we're the Big Ten is a league where, on a given night, I don't think anymore you'd be surprised to see anyone beat anyone, no matter where the game is. And that's just something that they're now in that mix, just like we're in that mix, just like Michigan State, Michigan, and everyone else is in that mix, where they're just turning into a complete basketball team. It's a tough out on any night.
Anything else from Kenny?
I guess just how important was that first Penn State game and winning a tight game close?
It's hard to quantify that, honestly for us, because we go into each game expecting to win that basketball game. There are no surprise wins for us. Just like we prepare, there honestly aren't any surprise losses for us. We're prepared for any and every situation. It's just about executing. The importance of the win, I mean, anytime you can win on the road in the Big Ten, it's like the coaches say, it's like gold, just to be able to gain one of those wins. I mean, I think you see around the country winning in these conferences on the road is a difficult thing to do. So I will put more so just the fact that we were able to win that road game is being very significant for us. It's the first time that the team, an inexperienced team, has been able to win a Big Ten road game. So, from that context, it was important. Yeah, we expected to go in there and compete and win.
All right. Thanks.